Okay, Jamie, we are here at La Bond. It's 2025. 7 years ago, in the European Individuals, I think it was your first year in the Opens. You won the European Individual Championship, which was a big surprise to many at the time, probably to yourself as well. Now a long time has gone since, and you're still here chasing the dream. What is the dream?
I suppose the dream is to be the best that I can be. My dream is maybe different to others. I get a lot of, how do I say it? Okay, we're going to have to start again.
Oh, shit. It's fine.
Because I don't want to go down the road of training the horses, because if we're building a story for... My thing is, I like training the horses.
It's like we start again, but it can be just a conversation between us.
Yeah.
Like we don't even like I'll not do a TV style, but like Jamie, in 2015, you won the European Individual Championship, which was a surprise to you, I guess.
Yeah.
And now it's my math isn't great, but it's
coming up 10 years.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
And a lot of things has changed. I mean, you were a young boy back then. Now you're an adult, but you still have the desire to invest a lot of your time and obviously money into doing this sport. What drives you? Like, where's your passion coming from?
I suppose my passion for we don't have a long history of being in horses. My father and my mother never had horses previously. It was something that we started when we were maybe 9-10 years old. We would have done a lot of jumping, riding school lessons and stuff like that. And then I think in 2009 we were in the pony club, and a family asked us to come along to the games, and we went there for a pony club practice, and we loved it after that night. And pretty much everything else took a back seat, and mounted games has been our life now since 2009.
And in the European Individual Championship in 2015, I think only a week before or 2 weeks prior was the World Individual Championship. It was in Wales, and I know you were in the C final and you were competing against my brother, and my brother, I think, beat you quite fairly easy.
Yeah.
And then we come here for the individuals, and obviously by the result of the World Individual Championship, nobody was looking at you as a big favorite.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Yeah, at the World Individuals, we didn't have a great run. I had been playing well, just World Individuals, maybe first big open individual competition, things just didn't click. We had been at Le Bon the year previous for the World Teams in 2014, and I knew that both myself and the horse were really comfortable on the surface, because it's the same surface that we had at home. So I was used to riding in kind of the deep sand, and it being wet in Ireland, and they wet the surface here. I was feeling really confident coming into the Europeans here, because I knew he had went really well, the horse Mr. T, the year prior. So although World Individuals didn't really go that well, I was still super confident coming here that I could put in a performance. Maybe wasn't thinking of a championship win, but I thought I could put in a good performance.
And how, like, can you describe your feelings, how it felt when you was going through that week? when you realized, okay, I am confident going into this, but then once you realized first session, okay, I really got this, and then you make it to the semis and the final?
Yeah, I've always been kind of a relaxed rider, a relaxed competitor. I don't get too nervous or don't really care too much for what's going on around me. So just started the week, and I think Craig O'Connor was training me, and it was just, he gave me great advice that week. We just want to go out, get our races right, get into a groove. And that's what we done from the first session. First session, I think I won. On into the second one, I think I won that as well. And then into the third one, I came up against Colin. I think he beat me by a few points, but I was still had a great session. But never really dawned on me like, okay, I'm up at the top of this competition, and I didn't add any pressure onto myself or anything like that. Just kept going through the motions into the semi-final, and just kept with the same, okay, let's get the races right, get equipment right. The horse is fast, so we're going to be up there. And just kind of, get our races right, get our equipment right, and we should be first, second, third. And that was kind of the mentality then through the semis. That went really well. I think I was probably surprised with how well the semis went that year in 2015. Mr. T ran us hard out that night, and I pushed on. The goal was obviously to win, try and go out and win every race, but get our equipment right. And then into the final, no real added pressure. I think I had the youth of not really realizing the big occasion was on my side, and I went in there, same thing, get my races right, and yeah, we were, we didn't win a lot of races in the final, but which made it close towards the end. I think Joe was maybe only a half point or a point off going into the last race, but same thing again. We knew our position going into the last race, that if we beat Joe and got it right, that, we'd probably win.
And what I find interesting just by thinking about it now is that you win in 2015 against Colin in the individual final in the under 18 or under 17 as it was. Colin only came second to Charlie Sutton, and then just a year after, Colin wins the 2016 World Individual Championship in the Opens, goes on the massive reign of winning almost everything there is. And in 2022, we didn't see Jamie much from 2015 to 2022. But then it's European Individual Championship again. It's Colin and it's Jamie, and it's a 1-2 again. This time, Colin being the winner. And obviously, Colin being so successful since 2015.
Yeah.
How much confident, or maybe even I'm missing the word, like confirmation. Like, how much of a confirmation is it that knowing 2015, I was on the level of Colin, I beat him. In 2022, I was still kind of on the level. I didn't beat him, but I was on the level with him. I beat him in some races, and now I know how successful he was in between. How much confidence then does that give you for what's coming up next for you?
Yeah, I've always been very confident in myself. 2015, we were very unlucky. The end of that year, after the big win, Mr. T got injured and he was out for a couple of years, and I went on to some other horses. But I've always been confident in my ability to train horses, and it's just about finding the right one with the athletic ability to go all the way. And then I know I can train him well, so it was just about finding the right horse. And in 2022, my brother had trained D, and they didn't quite fit perfectly. He moved on to a different horse, and Dee was there, and I knew how good she was, so I moved on to her. So I knew I had a serious horse underneath me, and that's kind of what I'd been missing from, let's say, 2015 to 2022. So once I had that horse, I knew I just had to make a few tweaks to her, and I was still pretty confident that I was playing at a good level, to still be up there. And I suppose in 2022, I had been away from the game. I'd taken a few years out to go to college and whatever. But, 2022 was a big year where I thought, okay, I've got the horse, let's try and get back to around the top of the sport. And I think that year, I think I made a good run in the European individuals, and I was happy with that. So confidence has always been high. You just have to have the right horse to go along with you. And now I have that. And I think the older I'm getting, I seem to be getting more confident and maybe I've been a few years on this horse, so that helps as well, not changing horse every 1-2 years. That, I think I'm playing the best games that, I have played since maybe ever this year. So I'm pretty confident.
That's very good, because we got the biggest competitions coming up. First the Champions League, and then the World Individuals. But before we focus on what's coming up, what advice can you give to people that kind of go through a similar path of not finding a horse where you can actually compete at the level where you believe you can be competing at? Because it's in this sport, it's like people talk about the best riders and they talk about the best ponies, but they don't often talk about the best combination. But really, no good rider is a good rider without a good horse. But it's very difficult to find those horses that can match your abilities and then have their own ability to make it to the big final. What message can you send to the people? What kept you going to actually find a horse that is able to fulfill your vision and dream?
I suppose my family being a big part of it, and I have brothers and our whole family is so invested in it, it was kind of easy to still have the horses around even when I wasn't that interested, and I couldn't find a great horse to go along. I would say just to anybody out there that's in a similar position and is waiting for the next great horse or the next horse to take them maybe to the top of the sport, is they are out there and they do come along. Just probably I got caught holding on to horses for too long that I probably knew deep down weren't going to make it to the top, and years were rolling on and I knew horses weren't good enough. So I think making a decision early on a horse, whether he's got, speed, obviously, they have to have a good mind. I think you can find that out pretty early on in the first year. And if they don't have some of those attributes that you'd be looking for, then, make a call and move on to the next one. And that's what I think we've got very good at now. We would have kept them all and tried to make them all great, and it might take 2-3 years. And even though they're not going to reach maybe the top of the sport, we've got very quick now, even at the buy-in stage. If the horse is not right, we don't take it. If it's not ticking the boxes that we want in a top horse, we don't buy it. And then obviously there's some things like the heart of a horse that you can't look at when you buy in, which I think is very important. I think you'd agree that any horse that's been to the top of the sport has a love for it, has a desire, loves getting out there. That's something you can find. That's something that you only get when you get going on the horse. Maybe after a year you realize what they've got to give. So I would say be very careful in the horse that you buy, and then if it's not making it after 6 months or a year, just move on to the next one and keep going. Sell it on. There's a lot of horse people looking for horses every year for maybe under 18s. Maybe it's not going to make an open horse, maybe it'll make a great under 18s horse or a great under 15 horse. So it's just, I think, about making the call early and moving on to find the right horse is what I'd say, because they are out there.
And I think what's also important is that looking from the pony's perspective, obviously if you have a horse that doesn't suit your expectations or your needs, the chance it'll fit somebody else's needs is good. And if you have expectations for a pony that it doesn't meet, then obviously the relationship and what the horse gets out of the relationship isn't ideal. So it's always like everybody's better off to kind of make sure that the expectations that you have as a rider can be met by the horse, because otherwise they will be overwhelmed by what you are expecting of them.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment, because I've been guilty of it myself in the past, of maybe the horse just doesn't have the athletic ability to do what I'm asking of him, and you maybe just push them too far. And it could be a great horse for what its capabilities are, but some horses in the past I've pushed too much, and then you run into problems where maybe they're not doing things the way I would like them so perfectly. So yeah, I think that's people need to be careful about over pushing horses, um, because they get overwhelmed and then they get very hard to ride, which is a big thing. I like to train a horse that is very easy to ride and is very calm, so they're not wasting any unnecessary energy while they're in the ring. He's sitting there, he's calm, he can go out, play his races, and he's saving valuable energy for big competitions that we want to ride at.
Yeah, and when you're looking at the best horses, the ones that are winning world individuals, usually they wouldn't be ones that are wasting a lot of energy. And if you have a pony that is wasting itself energy, it's usually also costing just your energy and your focus. So looking at Colin and Star and Lucas and Poco and myself, Mercedes and Nessa, Elena and Whiskers, for example, there are many more to name. But if you look at those ponies and rider combination, you won't see them having to fight for anything.
Yeah.
It comes natural. And I think once that is what you want, if you want to make the semifinals, the finals, and ride for championships, there's no point in forcing anything, because it needs to come to you. And
Exactly.
if you force it, it won't.
And like any of them riders that you've just named there, like having a horse like that just makes their job so much easier. They don't have to worry about maybe their horse going sideways or going a bit crazy on the line. They're just focusing solely on the game, on their equipment. So it's to have a horse that you're in that flow state with, I think it's proven that it's a key to success.
And for now, you said that you are training a lot of ponies, obviously to kind of find your next pony. And once you realize, okay, it won't be mine, you train it to the point where it will suit somebody else, and you train it to suit somebody else as well. What's your procedure if you get a pony that you can ride from your size? Maybe it's 4 years old, and it hasn't been ridden before. What is your procedure with the arena and the settings and the stuff that you have available at home?
So we don't have a big setup at home. So, to anybody out there that, doesn't have big arenas or access to loads of things, you don't need it. We don't have it at home. We have a small arena that's maybe, 20 yards wide by maybe 60, 70 yards long. It's just enough to fit a lane in and ride around.
So it's way too small in any dimension to play proper games.
Yeah, or even normal flat work.
Yep.
You're constantly turning. You get a long straight, and then you can kind of turn at the bottom. So you don't need a great setup. What I've been moving to, I think Alan Keoghan and his way of training horses has had a big impact on me, and kind of growing up around the Irish lads, and the way they trained horses, and specifically Alan. I would have spent a lot of time with Alan travelling back and forward to England, so a lot of his techniques has rubbed off on me. I'm nowhere near the horse trainer that Alan would be, but I've picked things from Alan and picked things that had been working for myself and kind of jammed them into my own little thing that I think works for training horses. We don't do an awful lot on, let's say we have a 4-year-old that we bring in and we're breaking them. It's not going to be a whole pile of work on them. Maybe if they're more scared horse, we have to spend more time maybe just being around them, being in their presence. If it's a horse like our homebred foals now are just turning 3 and we've kind of broken them. I don't know if it's because they were raised on our farm that they're so quiet, but we were pretty much able to just put the tack on them and sit on them and start riding them. So they're very easy, but they're not all like that. We just take it very slow. We takes us maybe 6 weeks to break a horse slowly. We in the last few years, thank God, touch wood, we haven't run into too many bad horses where, I don't know if that's in the way we train them or whatever, but we don't have many bad horses come through the yard anymore, like that want to buck us off, or nasty horses. I think we probably do a lot of work on their mind, so they're not wanting to be bad, they're just kind of wanting to please and wanting to take the easy way out, and which is do what I ask them to do, or then they'll get the pressure and release kind of formula, if you want to say it. A lot of that early on is what we use. So yeah, it's training horses is what I love to do, maybe even more so than the competing and winning. Obviously winning big competitions is great, but I get great satisfaction out of taking a horse, breaking it, and then maybe it's not going well at home, and then one week you take it out to a show and it's like a flicking a switch, and then that's what I live for. And like, geez, that horse went really well this weekend, and that's what I get out of mounted games. And we break and train so many of them, and that's what I really love to do, is that whole side of it. So I'm probably more interested in horses and the training of horses and getting things right on the games field, kind of trying to train the perfect horse, is what I'm good at and what I love to do. But I also think that side of me has maybe held me back over the last few years, where maybe I'm in training mode too much and I should be in winning mode, and I think the riders we called out, your Eleanors, Collins, Lucases, your Sadies, any of them people are in win mode, and I think that's where I need to be, and that's hopefully where I am going into the next 2 weeks.
Speaking about the next 2 weeks, how did you what did you do to go from training mode to Jamie wants to win, and why do you now want to win more than maybe before? Like,
I think even though I'm confident and playing well, I know I'm 28, coming 29 this year. Time is not on my side, and I have the horse to do it now. This will be my third season on her, so I think we're just it's the right time to put it all in and try and have a big year. I went traveling last year for 8 months and have been off now I'm not due to go back till the middle of May. So I had 4 months off where I could have went back to work, but I said, you know what, let's just put it all in. I have the time off work and let's do everything we can while we don't have the stress of work or normal life, and let's see what we can get out of this year.
So speaking about the pony, what's special about Dee? Why is she the one that will make you win this year?
I think it's her mind. She doesn't get hot. She doesn't seem to do anything wrong. She's always wanting to please, wanting to do the best for me. She's trained exactly the way I would want a horse to play games. I don't have to worry about anything else other focusing on the games. She's got speed, she's got turns, and yeah, I'm just really confident about her ability and the way she can make games easier for me to play.
So you've been very close in the European Individual Championship 2022 and won it before, but World Individuals you've never been close, but you've been close to, and you've beaten the past and previous winners of that competition. For some reason it seems to be more difficult, probably because everybody that is coming here for one reason, and that is to win. Now you have had time off work, what were you able to do and what did you change? And maybe also the 8 months off work and off horses, how did that help and lighting fire and motivation to carry you through a very probably tough preparation for this competition?
Yeah, I think the 8 months away was a big help. For we all know every season it's the same thing in and out. I think getting the break away from it was great and it was needed. And then towards the end of it, I was just like, I was itching to get back to the horses. So the break was great to get me into the mind frame. And probably somebody who, Mark Devitt, who's retired now, probably planted the seed. He called me one day when I was lying on a beach, and he kind of planted the seed of going for the world individuals, and telling me that I had the horse to win. So he maybe planted the seed, and then I thought, you know what, yeah, let's make a go of it this year. I have the time off work. I have 4 months to prepare for it. Let's do all I can to, try and give it my best shot. And at least then I can look back in 5, 10, whatever, 2 years time, who knows, when my career is over and my riding days are done, that I didn't just let it pass me by, that I really put everything and channeled all through it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But at least I can look back and say that I've given it all to try and get a big win. So that's what I done. When I got home, I'm big on kind of watching I love watching the kind of the sport and documentaries and stuff like that. And these teams, these great athletes, these great teams all have a team of people around them. They're not just doing it on their own. So I thought, that's what I need, and that's what I need to get. So that's kind of what I went out. I asked Mark to come on board kind of as a trainer. I got some tips from a local kind of horse racing trainer on how they get the horses fit and stuff like that. I would have asked yourself questions, on different things, on equipment and stuff like that. And then a big thing was sports psychology, which is huge in other sports and professional athletes. But I don't know if anybody uses it in mounted games, but I thought, well, if I can get another % or 2 out of a sports psychologist, that's what I'm going to do. So I contacted Emma Weir in England, who had used to play games, was very good. Now she's a sports psychologist. So I thought, what better person that has a background in the games that can maybe, point me in the right direction and knows the background of the sport. So I kind of built that team of people around me. And I had regular calls with them and stuff throughout the last few months, and just trying to get my head in the right space, be confident, and then putting kind of together a training program, both for the horse and for myself. So as soon as I got home in January, I was obviously a year out of riding, or just a little under a year. So I knew I had to kind of get, back in the saddle. So we had loads of young horses there to ride. So I was just riding 5-6 horses a day, every day, just kind of getting used to it again. While bringing Dee on slowly, getting her fit. And then the last 2 months has kind of really been, she reached a level where she was pretty fit. And I could start practicing games then, and just looking at the games in a different way. I don't know, when I go out to competitions and stuff, I kind of wouldn't look at the sessions, or I just kind of turn up and play, and there'd be no thought of particular games or how I'm going to play them. I just turn up and play them. So it was looking at the games and going into detail of how my horse likes to play it, how I like to play it. And yeah, just going more in depth on each race, and then maybe just practicing. Like one time I went away for a training, and all I practiced was my toolbox put down and toolbox pickup and a pyramid put down, and that was all I and I'd never done that before. I just, if I was training, play a few races and that'd be it. And we don't have a whole lot of equipment at home, so there would have been plenty of races that I'd just turn up at a European Championship or a World Championship, and that could be the first time I'd be playing them in 6 months. That kind of preparation is not going to lead to success. So I made sure I had all the games there and that I could practice them. And that's what I've been doing over the last few months, building the team, trying to get the horse in the right position. And then myself, going to the gym 2, 3, 4 times a week, getting myself in a physical condition where I can, go through a whole World Championships individually and still be okay come the final.
So obviously it's a big week coming up, and we'll try to cover everybody that is turning up. So for Jamie Reavey, what can we expect from you coming into the competition itself, and what do you think will be the key challenges for yourself? I'm asking this question because every single time I've done this competition, there were times within the competition, I'm not talking about the final itself, but there were times within the competition where I felt like there's a bit of a strangle, where I felt, okay, I need to fix this. I need to fix it. I need to find out a solution, because otherwise it's not good enough. So what do you think will be the challenges, and what can we expect from you?
What can we expect? I suppose I've come here with a view to win the World Championships. That is the goal. Obviously, I'm going to split it down into each session and even each race. As I said before, my question has been to go out and play the race, to not make any mistakes. Where the big flip is now, every race I go out to, I'm going to be playing to win it. So that's the first thing, is I'm here to win. The plan when I get to the semi-final will be the same, and when I get to the final, hopefully it will be the same as well. You're talking about the strangle of, I don't know if it's people close to you in the competition. I think I'll be okay in that position. I've been in that position before. 10 years ago, I was, I think, a half a point ahead going into the last race. So that's great experience, knowing if it's tight. I've been in that position before where I can win a championship in the last race. And going into it, would I take that right now? Yes, I would, to have the pressure of having a half-point lead or a half-point behind going into the last race of a World Individual Final. I'll definitely take it right now. Some of my weaker points probably in the past have been semi-finals. I don't know what it is about them, whether it's the races or I don't know. It has been a kind of a point where I don't know if I put more pressure on myself. Like once I get to the final, it's like I've made the final, and like a little bit of pressure comes off, where I almost seem to have more pressure in a semi-final because I haven't reached the goal of getting to the final yet. So I'm going to take the pressure of the semi-final off, break it down and just play race by race, and the goal is to try and win every race. I don't make a whole lot of mistakes, so I'm pushing a little bit faster, and hopefully I can, keep the mistakes to a minimum.
Perfect, Jamie. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll be following you this week, next week. We really hope it goes well, because you've put a lot of time into this, and to see your story unfold the way you wanted would be a pleasure for us to watch. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reavey.